In this video for our Finite Math MAT 140 online, I'm going to introduce you to MyMathLab. Some of you may have used MyMathLab in the past, and it sometimes looks different in different courses. For our class, MyMathLab is included in Canvas. You will not access it through a separate URL. Additionally, if you don't already know, your fee for MyMathLab is included in the cost of enrolling in the course. There is no textbook fee, there is no textbook purchase required or MyMathLab purchase required. Those costs are included in your cost of your total course. To access MyMathLab, you will always go to Modules in Canvas. You will always use this top module, MAT 140 MyMathLab links. The link you will use most often is MyMathLab All Assignments. Let's use it now. The first time you click it, you will be asked to agree to this end user license agreement. And that should be the only time you have to agree to it over the course of the semester. You will then see this page, and it should look almost exactly like this on your screen, except your name will be up here instead of test student. On the left-hand side are due dates, and for assignments that have limited attempts, the attempts will be shown here. Nothing in MyMathLab for my course other than your final exam is timed. You have as much time as you want as long as you get it done by the due date. The first assignment you're going to have to do in MyMathLab is called the Courseware Overview assignment. This is just to help you learn how to use MyMathLab. You need to get this assignment done before you can move on to the other assignments. The Chapter 1 homework assignment is optional. We are not officially covering Chapter 1. Most of Chapter 1 is a review of algebra. If you took a course like Math for Liberal Arts, you have covered this material in that course, at least the material that you need. If you took algebra in high school, you covered that material in algebra in high school. So we are not officially covering Chapter 1. However, if it's been a while, if this is your first math class since high school, or if this is your first college math class, you didn't take Math for Liberal Arts, or you just want some review, maybe it's been a couple of semesters. I've kept the homework assignment here. It is not for a grade in Canvas. You will see a gradebook score for it here in MyMathLab. The MyMathLab grade doesn't count. The only grade that counts is the grade that Canvas reports. That's the grade that counts. So I encourage you to do Chapter 1 homework if there are any topics that you are unsure about from Chapter 1. You do have to do the Chapter 2 homework. And so let me show you how homework looks, and we'll use Chapter 1 as an example. All right, I had to quickly do the courseware overview as the practice student, so I go on to do Chapter 1 as an example. We are going to go through all of Chapter 1. I should add right now, the homework assignments are for entire chapters rather than just for sections of chapters. As such, the homework assignments are very long. They are much longer than I would give as a homework assignment in an in-person class, because it's not for just a section, it's for an entire chapter. You do not have to do all the homework at once. In fact, I strongly recommend against doing all the homework at once. Your brain will get tired. There are, for most units, 4 sections that we're going to cover. A few units have 5 sections. And so I really recommend that you break it up and you do a section a day. So if I were doing Chapter 1 homework, notice there are 62 questions in this homework set. And there are others that are similarly lengthy. Be aware of that. I'm going to just do a couple of homework assignments, questions rather, just to show you how this works. So this is multiple choice. I want to name the property illustrated by this statement, which it's telling me is true. And this is the distributive property of multiplication over addition. So I'm going to choose that, and then I go to check answer. If I click this button instead, I'll go to the next question and my answer won't be checked. So I click check answer, and if I get it right, it's going to say well done, and I'm going to the next question. Let's say that I get an answer wrong. So let's say I say this answer is 0, and I hit check answer. It's going to tell me it's incorrect, and it's going to give me a suggestion of what to do. If I still don't know what to do, I can click up here on question help. This is incredibly useful. When I used MyMathLab as a student when I took differential equations and when I took algebraic structures as an undergraduate student. And it really helped me with those courses. And the reason it helped me was question help. Many questions have all of these. Some only have a few of them. One is help me solve this. What help me solve this does is it will step you through this problem step by step. So if I click on help me solve this, notice it says there are 7 parts, and so it tells me what to do. So it's going to say, so first I replace P and Q. So I type in -1 for P and I type in 2 for Q. Check answer. Good job. Then it tells me what to do next. I click continue. And then it's going to ask me here a multiple choice question. What should I do first according to here the order of operations? And we're going to distribute first. No. We aren't going to distribute first. Because we already changed that so we can add that. Okay, sorry. So we multiply first. There we go. My bad. And then it's going to have us do this. So we're going to multiply within there. 4 times 2 is 8. Check answer. Nice work. And then what should be done next? So now we're ready to add within the parentheses. And so -1 plus 8 is +7. And now what's our final answer? Well, -4 times 7 is -28. Now, because I've used this tool, notice this red X here. This means I got it wrong, but that's okay. I can get a similar problem. And so now I see that, oh, look, P now is -3 and Q is 2. Notice the values have changed. And so -3 plus 4 times 2, which is 8, is going to be 5. So this should be -15. Check my answer. Nice work. So here's a problem. When we go to question help, we're going to get a few fewer options than before. Sometimes in question help, you will see an actual video that you can look at. You'll see an animation you can look at. Here we have help me solve this again, or we have view an example. And the example just steps us through a similar problem. Now, for this course, you will need a calculator. Many of the problems have a calculator built in. And the calculator depends on the type of problem. I strongly recommend you get a TI-84 calculator if you plan on taking another math class or a stats class at any point. But you don't absolutely have to have one. It will make the course easier for you. Your textbook was written with a TI-84 in mind as kind of the default calculator. The examples that I do when I make videos are going to use a TI-84 calculator. So I strongly recommend that. You can find an app that is very similar to the TI-84 for phones, and I'm assuming also for tablets. There is also various online ones you might be able to access via Windows. Be aware that some of those are a little sketchy, and you should not use those because they violate TI's patents and copyrights. But others are close enough that it's similar to the TI without violating those. But some sort of calculator is going to be very beneficial for you. As in here, where I want to divide 18 by 12. Whoops. And it helps if I use the calculator right. Sometimes, I will say the calculator in MyMathLab, so you access it here. It isn't the best one, and you could use the calculator on your computer too for something like this, where it's going to be a little more reactive. I think maybe it's going to react better to what you do. So here I'm going to type in my answer. Always make sure you follow the directions. I didn't do that in a previous video. Round to the nearest tenth, or you're going to get it wrong. Read the directions carefully. Here again, here we have a case where you can watch an animation for this. So animations do require Flash. Flash is being deprecated. In other words, lots of browsers aren't using it anymore. You might have to download it or enable it. And you might not always be able to access Flash, depending on if you're using a shared computer that someone else owns or something. But if it's your computer, you should be able to
determining the order of real numbers.
So we aren't going to go through the whole thing, but just a little animation that helps. There's also sometimes separate videos that help. The other thing you can choose is Ask My Instructor, and that will email me from you. And when I get the email, I will get a link to the question so I know what it is that you are specifically struggling with, and so I can take a look at that. You can also print stuff off if you want, so you can print a single question out, or you could print the entire homework assignment out. I did that sometimes with my courses because it was just a way, especially if it was a specific question I really struggled with, I would print it out. Some of the tips that the instructor who also teaches this course often uses is really heavy on note-taking. I personally am not a huge note-taker anymore. I don't like using note cards personally. He does. He really supports the idea, and so you're going to see some of that still sprinkled in some of the documents in the course. If that works for you, you should do that. But as you're working through these lengthy homework assignments, probably taking some sort of notes or printing things off or something is going to help you do better on the quizzes. Now, as you go through, you will notice that your homework score is updated with each problem. That's important for you because that means if you can't get the entire thing done by the due date, you'll still get credit for what you do have done. My rule for late work is it's a 25% penalty for up to 3 days late, and then it's done. There's not accepted after 3 days. But for the homework assignments, that penalty will only apply to problems you've done after the deadline. So if I got a 70% before the deadline, and then I went in after it and did more problems, I would be penalized, but only on those problems I did after the deadline. So I'll put in my equal sign. I also want to show you this here. This is the palette at the bottom. Now, for a lot of this stuff, you'll be able to use just your keyboard. I'm assuming you can use the greater than and less than signs. But this is how you will input a fraction if you ever need a fraction. This is how you input an exponent. And if you click on more, you'll see a lot of other possibilities, most of which we won't use in this course. It will usually default to just the specific things that we are going to use for that particular problem. So here it's just, this happens to be equal, so I'll just type in the equal sign on my keyboard. Again, check my answer and go on. Here, 4/7 compared to 0.57. So this would be a good place to use a calculator. So 4/7 is 4 divided by 7, which is 0.571. So that is bigger than 0.57. Make sure I'm not supposed to round. It doesn't say I'm supposed to round. Yay. All right. Again, you'll have some questions that are multiple choice. For most questions, you'll get 3 attempts per question, or at least 2 attempts. It depends how many parts there are, though. So I'm going to get this one wrong deliberately. So I'm going to put A first, check my answer. Nope. Notice here, because there's only 4 choices, I just get two attempts. Oftentimes, if it's not multiple choice, if you're actually typing in an answer, you'll get 3 attempts. If it's true-false, you'll get just a single attempt. You can still do a similar question. So if I still get it wrong and do final check, click similar question. and now I start over. So right now it's still listed as wrong, but I can get it correct by getting it right. Okay, so that's enough questions for me to do for this, I think. Again, use this question help. I can't say enough about that. When you're ready to quit for homework for the day, so one thing you can do is just click save, and then it will give you a check mark for everything you've done correctly. If you did something incorrect, it'll give you a red X. If there's a question with partial credit, you'll see both symbols appear. The other thing I want to show here that relates to this is your study plan. And so let me get to the study plan here. That might be, I'll go this way. No, I won't. I'll click on the homework assignment again. There we go. Then at the very bottom, you see a study plan. The study plan is interactive. It will tell you what MyMathLab thinks you need to work on. But what's really good about the study plan is that you can ignore it and you can just work on what's coming up. So if you know that we're doing chapter 2 and you know that you need some help with equations of lines, so first I click the plus sign by chapter 2, then I click the plus sign by equations of lines, and I have all the objectives. These are all things we should be able to do in this course. And most of this should be familiar to you from previous math courses. This is not brand new material. It might be material, though, that you have forgotten about over the semester or over the years or whatever, and that's okay. So if I need help finding the slope and y-intercept of a line, I'm going to click on this, and it's going to give me sample problems to do. These sample problems are going to be really similar to the homework problems. Sometimes they're going to be identical, which will prepare you for the homework. The sections also often will have section videos related with them where someone will actually talk to you about the information. So here is this section video. Again, you'll need Flash to run it. Each one is pretty short. Well, I shouldn't say each one is short. I think each one is short, but some might be longer or shorter than others.
Hello, I'm Professor John Ward. In this section, we're going to be looking
This is
at
just the
linear
overview,
functions
which is
and
why it's
slopes.
short. He's just saying what they're
We're
going to
gonna
talk
look at
about. So that's not super helpful for us. But if we go back to watch section video, instead of the introduction, we can see the example. So how to find the slope when we're given 2 points, for example. So quick little videos about the main topics. I'll show you another way you can access these as you work through the course. The study plan does not affect your grade at all, but it's something I strongly recommend you do. It's something that's going to help you learn the material. You can also take sort of a pre-test over the material, a quiz me, and especially if maybe you have a strong math background, you might want to do this at the start of each section just so you know what you need to focus your time on in studying. That could also work. So that's the study plan. And I really, 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 really encourage you to use that. I'm not going to make you use it. I can kind of track, like I'll kind of see how much time people spend in the study plan. And it will be something I mention, particularly if people ask me lots of questions. Asking me questions is fine. But when a person asks questions over and over again about assignments, and I see they've never used study plan, it makes me a little grumpy. And I'm going to say it's something you should do. This is a tool that you have. This is you taking charge of your own learning. You can also access MyMathLab study plan directly from this link in Canvas. You'll see that same screen. And again, it will give you recommended things. And at first, the recommended things are going to be meaningless to you because it's stuff we haven't even covered or might not have to cover. So go to all chapters, find the chapters we're working with on a given day or a given module rather, and just see what do you think you need help with. And again, once you do the homework, that will give you a stronger recommendation here. The other things I want to talk about here briefly in this MyMathLab links, I'm going to apologize for the length of this video. One is the multimedia library. This is another way to get to those videos and other things. So if I want to know what's in chapter 5, I select chapter 5. I could select a specific section. I'll select compound interest. This is 5.2. And I want to know what video lectures and example videos are available. So I check those. I then click Find Now, and it gives me the links. So here is the section 5.2 videos from someone who is lecturing to us. And here are examples. They aren't necessarily in the same order you might see elsewhere. The introduction is last. But if one of the things you have to do is really you have to do most of these things. So if you need help finding the effective interest rate, you can click on that, and someone will walk through a sample video.
When we're
Now,
dealing with compounds,
we will learn how to do this on the calculator, so you will not have to worry about the formula you see here. But if you don't have access to a calculator, then obviously you'll have to worry about that formula. So when you want to see if there are videos or animations or PowerPoints, the PowerPoints are already in Canvas for you. So it's going to be the same as that you see here. But the multimedia library is how you'll find that information. And then finally, this is the link to your textbook. Your textbook is accessed online. Again, your textbook fee, you don't have to buy the textbook. It's part of your course cost. And it's going to ask you at times to get Flash or something else. The first time you run it, it's going to take you a little bit. It's going to ask you for your country and your language, and you're going to read the terms of use. You'll then eventually see your textbook screen show up. Many of you have used books like this before, I know, so it's just self-explanatory. The menu will take you to different chapters. So chapter 2.1 is the first official chapter we're doing. And so it is important, I think, that you read the textbook. I think it will help you. As you read, you should do the checkpoints and things like that as you go, just on paper. I find this very beneficial. I think it'll be very beneficial for you. So you can go through that. There, of course, are problems also. If you really want to do these problems as practice in the problem sets, you can, but I probably wouldn't. I think the study problems in MyMathLab are more beneficial for you, especially since your homework and your quizzes are going to be in a similar format. But again, the odds here are answered in the back of your book, where it says answer selected exercises. So you can do that if you want, but definitely do read, at least skim the chapters as we go through. So again, MyMathLab is accessed through the MyMathLab links. You aren't going to access it down here with the modules. You're going to access it here. And the most important link is all assignments. This will take you to everything as you go. Finally, the last thing I want to remind you of is that although you're going to see gradebook scores here for individual assignments, your course grade is determined here in Canvas. And it's determined by that because it's going to be weighted. It's not weighted here because I don't have it set up yet, but it will be once you can access the course. And so the Canvas grade is what is going to count. The stuff you see in MyMathLab is going to be similar to the Canvas grade, but the Canvas grade is weighted a little bit differently. The MyMathLab stuff isn't weighted. So hopefully that helps. If you have questions about MyMathLab, please let me know. If you have technical issues, you need to contact MyMathLab support, which is going to be Pearson. They might ask you to use this last link if something goes wrong. It's going to make sure what diagnostic information is, stuff like that. So they might ask you to do that if you need to contact Pearson Technical Support, which is found at support.pearson.com. Support.pearson.com. Technical support for MyMathLab. If you do have other questions, though, please let me know. I'm looking forward to a great semester.